What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Coachable Podcast. I am Tori Gordon, the host of this show. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you found us. You must be a seeker. You must be somebody who's either starting a personal development or self-healing journey, or you are one of those long-term committed, committed people that is just always soaking up new information, new knowledge on how you can become your best self. And whether you are new to this path or you have been on it for a long, long time, today I want to talk about a very important aspect of the spiritual journey, which is the journey of life, because essentially we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. In my opinion, we are infinite, cosmic, energetic, spiritual, infinite beings. And yet we come into this 3D experience and we get a physical body and we think of ourselves as human beings and not as spiritual beings. And I would assert that we are both. We are more spirit than we are human. This human experience is a temporary one. And it is it's the game to learn out how to be human, why we are here, what we're doing here, and how to make this game or this journey more fun. How do we extract the meaning and the purpose out of it? How do we find fulfillment in the midst of the mundane or in the midst of chaos or tragedy? These are the questions I have been asking myself for a really long time. And if you're anything like me, you might have found yourself at a point in your journey at some point, and maybe this is the position you're at right now, which is where you have been consuming all of the information when it comes to your purpose or how to have a growth or positive mindset, how to reprogram your limiting beliefs, how to work with, these parts of you that are stuck in limitation and scarcity and inadequacy. Maybe you even have tried things like meditation and mindfulness, and you love consuming information. If you're anything like me, like I said, you're a student of life. And I am somebody who, when I find something that perks my ears or draws my curiosity or my attention, I love to go down that path and see what insights and information is available to me. That's why I've studied everything from subconscious reprogramming to polyvagal theory and nervous system regulation to somatic psychotherapy to Kundalini awakenings to Eastern and Western philosophy and religion and so much in between. And it's because I have this desire innate within me, and I believe that this is something that's within all of us, which is a desire to know who I am and why I'm here, and how to make this life the best one possible, because I have this fundamental understanding of how precious and how temporary it all is. And that in the drop of a moment, everything can change. And so today I want to talk about how we move from the accumulation of head knowledge and information and our obsession with information. I mean, we live in 2024 where we're connected to our phones and we can airdrop, photos and files at the drop of a hat. I mean, information is so readily available to us. We now are living in the age of AI and ChatGPT, where AI is spitting us information that we can just ask a question and be given insane amounts of data to digest. And our brains a lot of times are like, okay, there's so much to learn. There's so much to understand, especially in the personal development journey, the healing spiritual journey. Or maybe if you're like on a health binge, you're like biohacking your health, or you're into longevity, or you're dealing with a physical ailment or disease and you're trying to heal from that, whatever it might be. There's can be so much to consume. And we can get stuck in that, right? We can get stuck in getting the next podcast, listening to the next audiobook, or getting in the next course. And we're just always absorbing and consuming information. And what I want to talk about is how do we move from the head into the heart space, into the embodied, becoming more embodied people, embodied leaders, embodied men and women. And what does that mean? So there's two words here that I want to break down. One is somatic or soma, which is soma is from the Greek, which means body, and embodiment. So you might hear somatic therapy or embodiment practices. And what that really means is the connection to and being present to the body, and having an awareness of what is happening within your body. Now, when we're intellectualizing, when we're analyzing, when we're talking about our problems, when we're learning new information, we're not always in the body. We are in the mind, right? And the important piece is, how do we connect the mind and the body? Because they are inextricably connected. And yet many of us live forever in the mind, right? We're thinking about what we need to do tonight. We're thinking about our to-do list, or we're thinking about the past and ruminating on what happened and how we could have done better, or what we should have changed, or if we'd only saw that red flag, we wouldn't have wasted our time with that person for however long we were in relationship with them, right? And those are all constructs of the mind, which is designed to help us survive, which is designed to help us predict threat, which is designed to absorb information so that we can navigate our world. And it's essential, it's needed. But there's so much untapped potential and healing that is only available when we connect to the body and the internal intelligence of the body's wisdom. Now, when I talk about embodiment, one of the best ways you can kind of see my process or my evolution and journey with this is if you go back and listen to some of my early podcast days. I was very I was very early in my embodiment journey. I was very much in my head. I was concerned about how I sounded. Was I saying the right thing? Was I regurgitating the information correctly so it was indigestible for other people? I was concerned about judgment. I was concerned about how I was going to be seen, versus being very grounded and present with what was happening in the moment, what was coming through me, what wanted to be shared, what wanted to be articulated from my heart space, not from my mind. And you can even hear it in my voice. When I think back, Nikki's usually in the studio with me. She's been on the show so many times. She helps make all of this what it is. And she'll say and reflect back to me often. She's like, Tori, you have changed so much over the years in your level of embodiment, meaning my presence, my groundedness in self. And that comes from being highly connected to my physical experience, what is happening inside of me. Now, if you go back to listen to old podcasts, I'm like, hey y'all, how y'all doing? You know, I'm like, even my voice is more high pitched. And a lot of times we can do that, especially as women, to sound more feminine or sound more approachable sometimes. But actually, as I've gotten more embodied and more grounded in myself, my pace has slowed down. My voice has dropped and deepened, because I'm speaking from a different place, right? I'm not speaking from up here where I'm up in my mind and I'm thinking and I'm rushing through so I can say what I need to say so that I can get it done because I need to do more things. I take a breath and I pause and I understand that whatever needs to come out, that transmission is going to be received on the other side so much more when I am fully present to this moment. So how, as leaders, do we start to ground into the body and into the self? And why is that important? Because when we are unembodied, and we are constantly just in the consuming of information, we have not yet integrated it into the felt sense, into the lived experience. So, these people, right? If sometimes I think of an example, it's like somebody in the education system, maybe they're in teaching an MBA course, or they're teaching on entrepreneurship, yet they've never been an entrepreneur, right? This is someone who's speaking on theory and ideas and concepts, but maybe they don't have the lived, felt experience of that. Sometimes I even think about this in the medical field, right? There are doctors who are performing surgeries that they have never been through, that they have no idea what it's like to be in the patient's shoes, what the patient's felt and lived experiences. You see, my sister, she was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 20. And so we spent a lot of time in hospitals. She went through two bone marrow transplants. She was getting, at the worst times, getting injected with chemotherapy in her spine. And the pain and the agony and the experience, the felt experience that she lived, her doctors didn't know anything about. They'd learned about in a textbook, right? But they had not experienced it themselves. And so there's something about when you have experienced pain, there's something about when you have experienced and lived through a tragedy or a loss or something that has been challenging and hard, and then your ability to relate to somebody who's going through that because you've had the lived experience of it, right? And there's something that connects us when we know we're in the presence of somebody who has that embodied experience, right? So how do we start to connect to the intelligence of the body, which knows how to heal us? Because if we're coming to this information for healing, for growth, for expansion, to become the best versions of ourselves, then we have to take it from our minds and actually integrate it into our experience and say, where does this live within me? So a lot of times we run away from the felt sense because we don't want to experience pain. This is why if you begin an embodiment practice, we always begin with presence. Mindfulness, slowing down to tune in and attune to the body's wisdom. What is happening within my system, within my nervous system? What are the sensations? What is the experience that I feel right now? And so with me, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this right now and you're not driving a car and you're somewhere that you can tune into this, maybe just closing your eyes, because with every embodied experience, it starts with presence. To become more embodied, to get out of the mind requires us to slow down. So maybe closing your eyes and taking a deep breath and letting that go. And noticing, even if taking a deep breath out of the belly into the chest, into the head, feels challenging for you. Noticing if for you, the breath is only accessible in the chest. Maybe it's shallow versus being able to be deep in this moment. Just that awareness alone, by tuning into that, allows you to have more access to what is true for you. And oftentimes we breathe shallowly. We breathe in the chest because we're very much connected to the mind. We're moving at maybe we're a bit dysregulated. Maybe we're a bit stressed. And so that's when we're holding tension or tightness or contraction in the body. The body knows what the mind tries to understand. The heart knows what the mind tries to conceptualize. So in order to attune and tap into our truth, we actually have to get out of the mind. And so through the breath, we can start to, one, give our mind something to focus on. We can slow down and we can come into this moment. Now, if you're following along, what I invite you to do is to start to scan with your awareness, with your mind, from the top of your head down your body. And notice and allow yourself to begin to intentionally, mindfully relax. So you can do this by saying, okay, let my jaw or let my forehead relax. Let my head relax. Let my ears relax. Let my jaw unclench. Let the tongue drop from the roof of my mouth. Letting my shoulders drop and relax. Noticing if I'm holding tension or tightness in any of these places. Noticing if I'm contracted, if I'm hunched over, or if I'm sitting up tall, right? Continuing to scan down into the chest, into the heart space. Breathing into there. Opening up the chest, opening up the shoulder blades. Going down into the belly, into the solar plexus. It just holds your self-esteem, your place of will, your place of power. Are you tight? Are you sucking in unconsciously, right? Because maybe you're a woman or a man and we've just culturally been conditioned to suck in, to be more, maybe for vanity or to be more physically appealing to ourselves or to other people, right? The conditioning of the mind. So where are we holding that tightness and tension in the body? Maybe you've had a physical injury and so you're feeling as you start to scan, maybe there's some tightness or stuck or pain in certain aspects of the body, maybe in the lower back. And as you start to scan all the way into the legs, allowing those to relax, allowing your feet to ground into the earth, some of these aspects of your body that previously didn't have any of your awareness or your attention are starting to come online. Now, this is a practice you can do, simple practice, a mindfulness practice of using your awareness, using the mind to track the sensations in the body. This is a very simple technique that you can do. And what this allows for is for you to tune into, where am I numb? Are there parts of my body that are offline, checked out, disassociated, right? That I don't feel any physical sensation whatsoever. And that can be due to dissociation, that can be due to trauma, that can be due to injury. There can be parts of the body that you get to in your body tracking or your scanning and notice, oh, this is the aspect of myself or my body that I hate, that I judge. And as we do this is so important because it's bringing light through our awareness to the parts of ourselves that we are at war with, that we are in conflict with. See, the body stores trauma. Trauma that has been too much, too soon, too fast for us to regulate the nervous system, for us to integrate, for us to process in a healthy way. That is energy. So is emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. So when we have an overwhelming experience that we cannot integrate and process through, maybe then that energy does not disappear. That energy gets stored and stuck in certain parts of the body. And the body remembers. If there's there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, because it does. It has a memory of everything that you've been through. Your body can be storing trauma from your birth, from before you had memories, before you had conscious awareness, before you were conscious, right? Things that happened in your childhood. And your body can hold that and store that in the fascia, in the cells, in the memory of the body. And as we begin to connect with it, as we allow ourselves to go into safe spaces where we can be present to what's happening, then that intelligence starts to, that energy, that information starts to release. It starts to move. Again, it's just energy that is getting stuck in different aspects or parts of the body. And so I want to reiterate here, the body is an essential part of the healing journey. Because a lot of times we have physical pain and we have emotional pain, and we disconnect from the body to not feel both, right? We don't want to feel the physical pain and we don't want to feel the emotional pain. And when we do that, oftentimes we live in a chronic state of dis-ease or stress or nervous system regulation that over time and extended periods of time of being disconnected from the body will eventually manifest as disease in the body. So how do we heal? We heal by getting more in tune with the body's intelligence. We go towards the pain. If you're numb, we go towards the numbness with non-judgment, with love, with curiosity, right? Oftentimes, if we are physically in pain, these are the parts of us we hate, or even emotionally, we can't heal what we hate. Because if your child is going through something hard, it's not going to receive the nourishment and the love and the healing it needs when we are judging it or shaming it, right? So if you have physical pain in your back, for instance, and every day you're trying to shove something in your back to make it feel better, or you're judging the crap out of it because it's not doing what you want, and you're talking down to why isn't it just doing what I want? Why am I having these issues? Actually, this is information. And what if it just wants your love and your attention, your acknowledgement, to actually go inward and say, what's happening right now? And allow it to happen. It's actually safe. And if actually what you're feeling in the body is tightness and tension and stress, what if you can be with that without judgment? You can allow your body to feel that pain or feel that lack of relaxation versus ramming that down its throat, right? It's like aggressive relaxation. We aggressively tell ourselves, relax, relax, relax. And you're like, okay, oh my God. You're like, what the heck? It's like, no, what if we could just bring love and presence and openness to that part of me, and then it will start to soften, start to relax. That's the feminine motherly approach. The masculine is this rigidity. It's this directed focus. I'm going to go right to it and I'm going to put pressure on this thing. And sometimes that's helpful. And sometimes we need the soft touch of there's nothing you need to do. We just need to be in this moment. So these are aspects of deeper embodiment. And as you get grounded into yourself, out of the mind, and you spend time in the body, and there's different ways you can do this, through mindfulness and meditations, through body scans, through movement, somatic movement practices or somatic embodiment practices. For me, that has looked like ecstatic dance or just non-judgmental movement, and doing whatever feels natural in my body. That's another way. It's looked like breath work. Breath has been one of the number one things that's allowed me to get out of my mind and access the felt sense, because this is an aspect of embodiment, is presence, number one. And two is the sensory awareness of being attuned to the physical sensations and the feelings of your body. And breath helps you to do that because you're using the breath, you're giving the mind something to focus on, and then the breath actually takes you, when you start to breathe in a rhythmic, intentional, focused way, After about 5 to 10 minutes of rhythmic breathing, transformational breath work, which is what I do in my Revive Breathwork classes, the prefrontal cortex, which is actually the part of your brain where it's making all the decisions, it's the monkey mind, it's thinking, it's analyzing, it's being anxious, it's thinking about the past. That part of your brain gets to actually shut off, essentially, take a nap. It goes idle. When you breathe in a rhythmic, intentional, transformational, like holotropic breathwork type breathing pattern, that prefrontal cortex takes a break. And all of a sudden, the body comes online. The body gets into the driver's seat. Instead of the mind takes a back seat, the body gets into the front seat. And now it's starting to release the stuck emotion and stored trauma and stagnant energy that has then been stuck inside the body. I'm going to tell you some fascinating experiences that I've had that breathwork has helped me experience. I was at a retreat in Maui in 2019. This is the first time I'd ever experienced breathwork, and my mind and my body were shook. I was just floored after this experience. And there were probably 30 of us in this room. And after breathing for about an hour, my hands, if you're watching, looked like raptor claws. My mouth looked like a cat's asshole. Okay. It was like this. I had completely lost track of time. I had no idea how long I'd been there. And my body had a physical response and reaction to the breath. Now, why was this so profound? Because oftentimes we think we need to think our way into healing. You need to think your way into clarity. Oh, I need to know what to do. Well, I just need to think about it. Oh, maybe I'm going to make this decision, or maybe I'm going to go, am I going to stay in this relationship or not? Am I going to take this job or not? Am I going to move to this city or not? Oh, let me just think about it. And then sometimes we think ourselves in circles and we're like, I still don't have clarity, or I want to heal this aspect of this pattern that I'm going through. I want to heal this thing that isn't working in my life. I want to heal this physical pain. Well, the mind can only take you so far. This is why people stay in cognitive behavioral therapy for decades, talking about their problems, thinking about their problems, and never actually healing at a root cause level, because they don't connect the mind to the body where that trauma and pattern is stored. So I'm having this profound experience where, after breathing for such an extended period of times, I'm having visions. I'm crying. I am laughing. I'm having all different emotional responses to breathing. And after, it takes me a while to come back and to just regulate myself and just come fully back into the present moment, because I had taken a spiritual journey. It was like I was on psychedelics, but I wasn't. I was on my breath. I was high on my own supplies, what I like to say. This is an embodiment practice. There's lots of different breathwork techniques that you can do, but we were then sharing afterwards, and we got into little groups and we were talking about our experience. And in the group that I was in, there was a couple, an older couple, probably in their 60s. And there was a prominent doctor from Nashville he was a big guy. He's probably 6'5". He was there with his wife. This was the first time he'd ever done anything like this. And he's a Western medical trained physician. And we're sitting there in circle after, and he looks so youthful. He looks so young. He's sitting there cross-legged, and he goes, honey, look at me. Look at me. Look at what I'm doing. And he's like giddy over the fact that he's sitting cross-legged, because he has experienced and dealt with knee pain and arthritis for years. And because of this breath work, it allowed him to release the tension, the tightness, the stress that was bound up and had accumulated in the body, specifically in his knees. And now he was able to have flexibility and movement where there was not that accessible before. This is a direct correlation to how the body is storing trauma and how the body can heal itself through embodied practices. Your mind, my friend, cannot do that. And this is why it's so much more important than to just read the book. And if you're reading the book that gives you the practices, do the practices. If you're in a course or you have a coach and they're suggesting for you to do the things, do the things. It's getting out of the head and getting into the execution and the implementation and the integration of what you're learning, because that's where the transformation happens. And it was so beautiful to witness their exchange. There were countless transformational experiences that day. People who were able to heal from radical things because of this type of breathing. And now I facilitate this in Revive Psychedelic Breathwork as a way to get out of the mind and tune into the intelligence of the body. Because let me just give you, if you're not sold, let me give you an example. If you fall and you scrape your knee, or you're in the kitchen and you're like me, cutting an avocado in a way that you probably shouldn't be, and you slice your finger open, which I've done. And you've got this cut or you've got this scrape, right? What the body doesn't need you to think about how that's going to repair. The body has a built-in intelligence that knows how to take your skin and it now, if you, overnight, it's starting to come back together. It's starting to repair itself. That is why people can go through extreme trauma, extreme injury, and go through rehab because, yes, they might have had a surgery or something, but the body is wise. It knows how to heal. And that doesn't involve the mind. So how can we tune into this intelligence? We can do it through these practices, breathwork being one of them. Some types of Kundalini yoga, or just for me, I started with Bikram yoga, transformed my life. It was an embodied practice of getting out of the head and starting to feel the felt sense of when I was holding poses. Oh, okay. Well, if I make this minor correction or minor change, how does that change the energy in my body? How does that open me up now in a way that wasn't available before? Right now, I'm doing a 30 days of devotion challenge where I'm going to yoga every day. And it's beautiful, again, to come back to this practice and watch my body transform overnight. Like I'm able to do things I wasn't able to do the day before. And this is the intelligence of the body. Now, like I said, presence is important. The sensory awareness, the felt sense. So how can I use my sense of smell, my sense of taste, my sense of hearing, my sight, my touch to bring me into the body? If you're very disassociated, if you're very disconnected, if it hasn't felt safe to be in your body, which those of us who experience extreme trauma, we live often in a disassociated state because it's not been safe. That's what happens when we go to high stress states. It's in polyvagal theory. You are now in like, when basically the threat is so dangerous that you can't fight or flee or make it your friend, fawn, which are the stress responses. Then you go into freeze, and there is an intelligence within the brain that allows you actually to escape the physical experience, because it's as if you were going to be eaten by a tiger. It's like, oh, we're just going to have to endure this, but I'm going to help you disassociate so you don't have to feel the physical pain of it. Now, if you are somebody who's experiences disassociation, it's because you are going into heightened states of stress and arousal where it feels like I have to just endure this and I'm going to be eaten. So I'm going to leave and escape the body. It's important to work with trauma-informed practitioners or somatic therapists or guides or safe people who can help you, if this is you, track with you your nervous system so that you can relax and start to feel safe to even start to feel again, feel the felt sense. This is why sometimes if you're if you've worked with a therapist or a trauma-informed coach, they'll suggest in this state, putting some ice in your hands to bring you back into the felt sense, holding ice, or they'll suggest name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing you can taste, right? Using your physical 5 senses to bring you back into a grounded state. You can also use practices like in meditation, doing what we did with the body scan, and then imagining from the base of your spine, from your root, growing roots into the earth and connecting it to the core of the earth. And using that visualization process to help you ground. Like I was saying earlier, when you can hear someone speaking very like fast paced or high pitched or whatever, they're usually up in the head. They're usually up in the top chakras. They're not connected to their root, their sacral, their body. Sacral is in their root is like where your pleasure center is. So if sex for you disassociate during sex, or you have no practice, so feeling, having your own pleasure practice feels very unsafe or shameful to you. These might have been ways you've been conditioned out of connecting to your own physical body. And beautiful ways to start to do that is explore this in safe environments or in the privacy of just you and you feeling safe to do this. Because hear me when I say, where there is not embodiment, you are in fear. Where there is a lack of embodiment, there is a presence of fear. So if I'm afraid of people's judgment and what they're going to think of me and how I'm going to be received and I'm up in the head, right? Versus being in my heart space and being really grounded and present and open and just sharing from my heart, I'm up in the mind. And you can feel this. Like you can feel this when you talk to people. Because if you've ever talked to someone who's you meet them and they're energetically powerful or they're confident and they've got a sense to them, they're like, wow, she feels like she's really powerful. Being in your power requires you to be in your body. Otherwise, it's a false semblance, a projection, or a mask of power and confidence. True power is sourced from within, sourced from the body, being connected to all and integrated with all aspects of yourself, mind, body, and soul. So if the body is offline, if body doesn't feel safe, then we're going to be in the head, or we're even going to be floating above the body and disconnected altogether. So part of being a powerful embodied leader means feeling it all, being willing to feel even, and this includes all the discomfort, all the pain. I say to my students, go towards the pain. That is like, because on the other side of pain, when you can breathe through it, when you can be with the contraction, and then on the other side of the contraction, where you're tight and you're holding and you're squeezing and you're scared, after you can be with that, there is an expansion. Think about how a baby is born, right? There's a contraction and then there's an opening, an expansion. On the other side of contraction, if you can be with it, if you can love it, if you can bring your attention and your awareness, not with your judgment, not saying this is wrong, this is bad, I need to change this, I need to fix this, saying, oh, I see you, I feel you, it's okay, you're safe. Then that safety that your body feels will then relax, which is the expansion, the openness. And on the other side, so on the other side of pain is relief, is joy, is freedom, is new creation, new life. That is how a baby is born. But if we always stay in the contraction, we can't open to allow that energy to flow through us. Now, I was just with a client who I've been working with for over a year. virtually. She's in the Revive Women's group. She's incredible. And I love her, and I've loved facilitating and supporting her over the last year and a half or so. And she's been in town, and we've been able to do some embodiment work. And her intention yesterday, as we got together, was to be present, which I love, because presence is the precursor to all of this. And for those who don't know, I am I'm a spiritual life coach, but that goes so much more into the body. So embodiment practices, I'm a breathwork facilitator, and I'm an energy healer. And so I work with the mind, body, and soul to fully integrate into the present moment so that we can release what's not serving us. We can release the blocks and the tension and the trauma so that we can liberate, and so we can be free, and so we can find that relief and the joy that's on the other side of pain. So she and I are going through this process, and we use different embodiment practices to help her get really present. And one thing that I work with is I had her go through a hape, which is a plant medicine ceremony, and that started to move some energy in the body. And as she got really present and allowed that medicine to work with her, then we got up and we did some intuitive movement. And so she was stretching. Maybe she sat in child's pose for a while, and then she got up and danced and moved that energy through her body and through her system. And then I got her on the table, and because she felt safe, because she was in a safe environment where her body could relax, all of a sudden, all of this energy started to move through the body. Her entire body started to shake as I'm working with her and doing some Reiki. And her mind she's talking to me, and she's like, I don't understand. Why is my body doing this? Why is it having this response? Like, she wasn't feeling necessarily there was no attachment to the felt sense, but the body was having a response, a reaction. Energy was moving. And the way I like to describe this, if you've ever done energy work, or if you've ever worked with a practitioner for this kind of work, what I'm doing in my different practices that I'm facilitating is if you are a channel of, you have a channel of that's connected through your spine, through your chakra system, down your spine to the root, for the top of the head, down the spine to the base of the spine, right under your anus, essentially. And there are energetic centers. This is called the chakra system, or vortices. And there's a channel of energy that wants to flow freely. Now, if we have gotten blocked and we have stuck emotion, we have unfelt sensation, we have been disassociated, we've been numb, we've been disconnected, we have unprocessed feelings or pain that has been, maybe we have just like from an injury or something. She had an injury in her lower back. As I connected into her energetic field, I could feel this block in her lower back and towards the base of her spine. And she's like, there's a lot happening. All of her legs are shaking. And all of a sudden she was like, oh, this is connected to my, a riding accident I had when I was 17 years old. I was riding a horse and had an accident and fell. And that's what this is. And so the body, as we started to work with it somatically, it started to release that tension, that trauma that had been stored in the spine and in the back. And so this is part of the healing, of integrating the mind, of the understanding of what happened with the felt sense in the body sensation and the energetics of that. So this is just all to say your body is extremely wise, and it will speak to you in the language of pain and sensation and pleasure. So following your pleasure, deepening into that, letting yourself deepen into what feels really good and going deeper and deeper and deeper into that experience. Same with pain. But in a couple episodes ago, I did a whole episode on the power of pain and the purpose of pain and how it's a great teacher. We can't be afraid of the pain and think we're going to get free. of it. The path is going towards it so that we can liberate it and unlock it so that it can release. And it might release in the form of shaking, energetics, moving energy through the body, or it might in emotion, which is also energy. So for those of you at home, if you want to heal on a cellular level, on an embodied level, and you want to ground into a deeper level of confidence and self-centeredness, not being selfish, being centered in yourself, sitting at the seat of the soul, and that's connected to this source of life, this energy that's flowing through, in and through you, to and through you, then that's what allows you to create new experiences. That's what allows you to create new patterns. That's what allows you to create new habits. That's what allows you to have the energy to show up and do the things you need to do. But if you are in an energetically poor state, that's when we're in disease. That's where we're in destruction. It's like a tree that is now in the process of energetically becoming burned and turning into ash. Okay, that is the same thing that's happening energetically to us as we die, or as we get older. Our energy is shifting. Now, if we want a lot of vitality, we want a lot of power, we want a lot of strength and resilience and ability to create and express, well, we have to be in an energetically rich state, or what I would consider unkinked. So as I mentioned, we have this channel, and I think of that channel where energy flows through and to us, to and through us, it's like a water hose. Okay. So the water hose, when we go through things and we don't process it, that water hose gets kinked. And then there's a buildup of pressure. And that is why we experience pain, emotional or physical pain. And how we can start to release that pressure is by unkinking that hose, presence, and moving that energy going to the source of the pain and unkinking it energetically and physically. So we can do that through your breath. You can do that mindfully, bringing love and presence to it. There's so many different ways. But this is how we unkink the system, unclog the system. If you had a clogged toilet before, it's not going to work properly. That's the same thing as your body. It's not going to work properly if you have a lot of built up, backed up, unfelt, unprocessed emotion, energy. And that's why we feel stuck, clogged, disconnected, disassociated, lack of pleasure, lack of creativity, lack of drive. We have to unkink the system so the energy can flow again. Because that is what sustains us. That is the life force that allows us to live a vibrant life. And when we get kinked, and the longer we're in that level of buildup and pressure, the more pain we experience in our life. Emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, we just feel completely overwhelmed and dead inside. And so that's what I do as a practitioner, as a facilitator, is creating spaces for you to get present so that you can tune into the felt sense, so that you can get out of the mind, into the heart, into the body, and connect to the intelligence and the wisdom within you so that you can heal. Another practice, if you're at home and you're like, okay, Tori, all of what you're saying sounds great. I need that. What can I do today? Do a body scan. Bring your awareness to where you're in pain or where you're tight and tense. If you have a lot of, maybe you're just going through a lot emotionally and you don't know how to process the emotion in a healthy way, or like instead of, because what you do is you either recycle or you'll release it. So with an emotion, you're either going to keep recycling it or you're going to fully process it and release it. So how do we release it? You can do different exercises. You can literally, if you're feeling angry, scream into a pillow, move and stomp and shake your body and allow it to be expressed, because otherwise it will be repressed and then stuck in the body. So the way that we avoid repression is through expression. That is an aspect of embodiment, that I am expressed in my full authenticity. And that might also look like I'm allowing myself to express this rage or this anger or this sadness or this grief or this joy or this pleasure. All of it, all aspects of myself are welcome, and I'm going to express it fully. And so, like a child, a child is embodied before it learns that it's not safe. A child cries when it's upset. A child throws a temper tantrum when when they're not getting their way. A child dances and creates and sings unapologetically because they're embodied. They're just moving that creative life force energy through their system in whatever way feels natural for them. Now, if you're a parent and you've ever seen your child have a temper tantrum, if we do not interject and tell them how they're supposed to process their feelings and their emotions, they will naturally take themselves through the process of regulating their nervous system, and they will naturally release that emotion versus recycling it. And I'll show you why. A child who is upset, angry, will scream, pound, stomp, pout, right? It will express it outwardly. It might kick over its Lego tower. It might, maybe it tries to, hurt their little brother or sister. We don't want that, but like they will express it. And then if you watch on the other side of expressing that anger or that upset, that rage is on the other side of that emotion is usually tears. And then they're like, oh, and then they're like all upset and sad. And then they start breathing because they're up in the chest. And then all of a sudden they'll slow down. They'll start taking deeper breaths as they cry. And then as they go through that process, then they'll slow down. And that's when you'll see them grab like a toy or a blankie or go towards mom or go towards dad and go take a nap and go. This is the process of self-soothing that a child knows how to do because it's built into the system. It's built into the body. It's the mind that actually is in the way. And this is where most of us live, is in the head. And we're like, oh, I just need more information. No, you don't. You need to get into the body and feel your feelings. You need to move in a way that feels natural, even if it doesn't feel normal, because the mind's going to be like, that's not normal. That's weird. You look stupid. What are you doing? That's the mind. That's not helpful in this experience. It's not helpful when it comes to healing. We need to allow the judgment to go and just move in a way that's natural, because what is normal, you're like, oh, that's not normal. Yeah, I don't want to be normal. Fuck that. Normal is sick. Normal is addicted. Normal is in debt. Normal is disconnected. I don't want to be any of those things. So what I need to, if I don't want to be normal and ordinary, and most people they're in survival, they're not thriving, then I need to get back to the natural expression of the body and its intelligence and its wisdom and listen to it. And how do I listen? Because the body will speak, but you got to get present and let it talk to you. And it's going to talk to you in the form of tension. It's going to talk to you in the form of physical pain, emotional pain, sensations, energy. This is the language of the body. This is the somatic level of healing that is necessary for us to really be fully integrated whole beings and to access the magic and the wisdom that is built in, that is the beautiful experience of being a human being in a physical body. Right? And so a lot of us, we have a love-hate relationship with the body, or maybe just a hate-hate relationship. We're like constantly in judgment, constantly wanting to trade it in for another, constantly trying to change it, morph it, shape it, Botox it, all the things. But the indigenous ways of certain cultures, whether that's Eastern cultures, indigenous Native American, South American, Central American cultures that are deeply, even what I'm learning is my Northwestern European cultures before they were colonized by the Roman Empire, we had deep connection to the earth and to our bodies. for my ancestors, for my lineage, Christianity came in and was like, no, you don't listen to your body. The body's bad. The heart is evil. The heart is deceitful. Oh, if you use your pleasure, you're a sinner, right? So many of us have been conditioned out of the connection to the body. And what I am asserting and sharing is that the only way back into wholeness and into divinity, into a holy relationship with who we are, mind, body, and soul, is back into union with the body. So one last technique I would give you, if this is something you want to try at home, is some kind of movement practice, whether that's dance, whether that's song, whether that's shaking. There's a experience I like to go through, somatic shaking when you're feeling really overwhelmed or you need to get out of an energetic funk. Shaking your body will shake up that energy. And oftentimes there is an emotion there underneath, and then you can feel that, and then you'll experience that shift in your energy. Your energetic state is, or your internal state is going to determine how you're perceiving your experience, how you're perceiving your reality, yourself. And if we're in an energetically poor state, we're going to have a pretty negative, shitty outlook, frankly. So we've got to get into a higher vibrational energetic state, and we can do that through embodiment practices. So shaking, somatic movement, embodied awareness, bringing attention and love and presence to the parts of us that are offline, that are numb, that are in pain, and really giving ourselves permission to do what feels natural and express. Expression is key. Expression is so, so key in the healing of all of the repressed things that we have carried throughout our life and sometimes generationally have been passed down to us. Okay. So this is just, again, an entry level understanding of embodiment, and how you can begin to get out of your mind and connect on a different level of healing, which is really where your power lies, is within your body and your felt experience. If you are interested in learning more about how you can do this, how you can start to heal, and you're looking for a safe place to work with a practitioner, I encourage looking for somatic therapists or working with a trauma-informed guide and facilitator. I am one of those. If that's interesting to you, you can always go to revivelasvegas.com or connect with me on Instagram, the Tori Gordon, or Revive Las Vegas. I see people in person. I do one-on-one private work as well as group healing through energy work, psychedelic and shamanic breathwork practices, and plant medicine ceremonies. So if you are looking for a place to get really present, really connected to your life and the life force energy that's moving through you, and how you can unkink your channel so that you can receive the blessings and the gifts and the magic that's available in this moment, then I highly recommend checking out what I'm doing at Revive Psychedelic Breathwork. We have coming up on October 5th an in-person event here in Las Vegas called Reborn, which is going to integrate hop-bay plant medicine, sacred indigenous tobacco snuff, sacred ritual with psychedelic breathwork and energy work as a way to help you really connect to the authentic self and to this place of home within the body. So this is the next opportunity. If you're looking for a place to do this, come to Reborn October 5th. You can grab tickets at the link in my bio or on revivelasvegas.com, or the link in my bio at the Tori Gordon, or in any of our Instagrams. And this is something I'm going to be teaching more about virtually. I'm going to be doing an upcoming nervous system regulation workshop, as well as embodiment practices. And I teach all of this inside the Revive Women's membership. So if you're a woman, regardless of where you live, you can be part of this program where I teach these practices. And we meet every single week as a collective of women who are dedicated to their spiritual and self-healing journey. And we support each other in becoming the embodied, powerful women that we know we're able to be. But sometimes we need support. We need teachers, we need guides, and we need other people that we can co-regulate with to help us find that sense of safety and power within ourselves. So Revive Women is where I teach all of that content to those around the globe. So if you're interested in that, you can go to revivelasvegas.com, or again, the links in my bio have links to how you can join us for a year or just a monthly membership. All of that is a way that you can take that next step in your journey if this is interesting to you and calling to you to get out of just the consumption, analysis paralysis, thinking your way into healing, which will never lead to the type of liberation and fulfillment and the embodied wholeness that you're looking for, then this is the next step, is that embodiment and that embodied practice. So I hope you'll connect with me. If you need to get in touch with our team, you can always send us an email to info@revivelasvegas.com, and somebody from our team will reach out to you and schedule a call. But I hope you take a lot away from this. I've been on this path for about 6 years now, and it all started with my breath. It started with this one awareness that I was so disconnected from my breath, and in a Whole Foods line, and realized, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's happening below my neck. Like, I'm completely disconnected from my entire body, and a whole new world opened up to me that day. Just with that little understanding and that awareness alone. And now here I am teaching this work to men and women around the globe. And it's honor of a lifetime, because it's the deepest healing work that we can do. And I think this is the work and the way to not only heal ourselves, but to heal our communities, our families, and this planet. Because what we do to ourselves, we do to each other, and we do to Mother Nature. And, that is why we see the state of the world that we're in. The judgment, the fear that we give and we live in chronically at war with ourselves and our own bodies. We can see that outwardly in our relationships, in culture, in society, in the genocides, the ecocides that's happening to our planet and to each other all over the globe. And so this is the revolution, the wellness revolution that we need is coming home to ourselves, to our hearts, and to our bodies. So reach out to us if you have questions. Otherwise, my request is always just do what you can to share this with people that you think would benefit from it. Or what I would love is if you could leave us a rating and review, or subscribe to the YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts. If it's Apple, Spotify, leave us a rating, leave us a heartfelt review. Let us know how this podcast or this episode has transformed you or helped you in your path. And that is one of the number ways you can say thank you. But that's all for this week. I hope you learned something, and I hope you integrate it into your life and actually don't just listen, embody it, practice it, use it, and allow it to transform your life. I love you guys. We'll see you next week on the Coachable Podcast. See ya.